now. And we're back. 76 in a row. That's important to know.
Pretty much in a row. Hey, I can see video. This is awesome.
We're connected.
Connected all the way from Australia. Welcome back, Ryan.
G'day. Thank you very much for having me on again, fellas. It's always an honor. Always an honor.
Absolutely, it's fun. We like to see if how far away Skype will work, and so far you're the first.
Yeah, it turns out, guys, pretty far away.
I'm down here on that flat Earth edge, I think.
Oh yeah, you are. You must be right. You must be able to reach out and touch it.
That's probably what it is.
Dude, so just tell us. Just let us out of the conspiracy. Tell us what the end of the world looks like.
Yeah, just down there in Tasmania, jump off the edge. You're pretty much good to go.
Shit, that's awesome. At least we can put that to bed finally.
Seems like we'd hear more about that if it were true, but
all good.
It's because the media is controlling you, John. That's what the issue is.
But aren't we the
media now? You don't know
now?
what the world's. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh shit.
Damn.
That's a good point.
Inception.
You're part of it. We're part of it.
We're equally involved in the conspiracy. All right. Anyway. So welcome to the show. Yeah, you got some cool stuff to share with us, and we can talk about your match that's coming up and whatever else comes up in the next hour or so.
Yeah. The Bishop match is really exciting. It's easily the biggest match I've ever been part of in my life, and what's the most beautiful thing about it is it's only been possible through the promotions that have been doing in this at the local level. Like honestly, like the odds of me and Justin being in the same place at the same time in a tournament, meeting each other is really quite small, and so to be able to pick an arm wrestler on the other side of the planet, offer to pay for his flights to come over here, offer to pay him some money for the event, regardless of win, lose or draw, is awesome. It's win-win for everybody as far as I can see. So I am absolutely pumped about this match. Can't wait.
Sure.
So talk to us a little bit about what your idea was and the follow-through and what you did, because I'm definitely curious about it.
Yeah. So I guess with the whole season of arm wrestling, with the WAL kind of wrapping up and us kind of going back into a sort of self-promotion requirement, with whether it's super matches or whatever, I just started thinking, well, look, my biggest goal in life is just to be able to arm wrestle full time. Like I think that's a dream that so many of us have, and how we get to that space without a league that's going to pay us really falls back on ourselves. So over the last sort of about 12 to 18 months, I've created a business in my local area that was totally separate from arm wrestling. It was called The Greater Review, and literally in that business, I just over time started establishing a social media presence through paid advertising. I was putting like $5, $10 a post, paid advertising to my local area. Now, this was when I was in real estate initially. That's evolved into its own little beast, and funnily enough, like I'm used to it now, but if I walk down the streets in my local area, after 12 months of doing this style of advertising and this style of just lighthearted content, talking to businesses and reviewing businesses and just getting to know people, if I walk down the street now in my local area, people come up to me and say g'day and think that I'm some kind of random little micro celebrity, and it's leveraging that and now turning it onto arm wrestling that's been able to really establish this event, because what I've effectively done is I've gone along to my local pub, a Pig and Whistle, which is a nice high-class establishment, and they've recognized me straight away. They've said, "Oh, you're that Greater Review guy," and I said, "Yeah, and I'm also competing in professional arm wrestling and want to bring out the American champion to have a super match." And straight away, like they didn't hesitate at all. They were really keen. But at the end of the day, like it was only going to be possible if we gave that venue value. Now, that venue that venue has paid me 2,400 Australian dollars, which has covered the cost of Justin's flights and also of $500 that I'm now spending on specific local marketing between now and October 29 to try to fill that venue. Now, the good thing is the venue has already on-sold that sponsorship to a liquor company. So they've already covered their costs. Like they're literally already happy. They're saying it's a win no matter what because no money's coming out of their pocket. And now they've got this kick-ass event to promote. And no other pub in the area can say they've got the American champion versus the Australian champion in a 6-round super match. And so they're going all in on the marketing. And it's for them, they're super pumped about it. So if we achieve the goal that I'm hoping for, which is to over-deliver on value and actually pack out that venue, then they're going to be saying, hey, let's do this again. And next time it won't be 2,400 that they're paying me. It might be $5,000 or $6,000 or something like that. And we start getting bigger and better.
Right. And as soon as somebody does it once, it's not so scary anymore, right?
Yeah, that's it. And it's all leveraged off the local audience. Like the reason why I'm confident that we're going to pack out the venue is because the random people know me from my last 12 months of social media efforts. And like literally I'm getting people on my other channel, The Greater Review, saying to me, can we get Team Ryan t-shirts and all that sort of stuff. So these are non-arm wrestlers, people who have never heard of the sport of arm wrestling before are really getting behind it, and they're all excited to see me take on Justin. So that's where the value is going to be for the venue, because we get 300 to 500 people in that pub just to watch that event. It's going to be a big success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So talk more about what you would recommend to, say local promoters at any place around the world. What do you think was the most important aspect? Do you think it's the fact that you just, you have another platform that you used in an intelligent fashion to get the word out, and then coupled it by basically being a street cop walking around and talking to people?
I honestly, I'm certainly in a position of advantage where I've got this other channel that I can now leverage the audience from. But I don't think you actually need to create a channel like the Greater Review. I think you can do it purely from your own arm wrestling channel. Like I've done an example story where I went down to my local barber on my Ryan Blue Bowen channel, and I just went down and shot like a 1.5 minute video, put some music over it, and just basically gave the guy a rap in being a good barber. And in that post, like the barber donated 5 free haircuts because he could see the value in the promotion. We literally just said to my local area, look, if you want to win these 5 free haircuts at this local barber, simply share the post, like my page, Ryan Blue Bowen, like the barber's page, and comment below. And so we got about 150 local people enter that competition. Now, every single one of those people who entered the competition, I have a piece of software there's probably a heap of them out there, just internet-based software that automatically sends a Facebook Messenger to those people after they've entered. And so in that Facebook Messenger, I'd say, hey, thanks very much for entering the NK Barbers competition on the Ryan Blue Bowen channel. As a way of saying thank you, we'd like to offer you this discount on your next haircut. So we drive at heaps of business to this local barber. And then also in that message, I say, oh, yeah, and by the way, on October 29, Ryan's taking on Justin Bishop, and we would love to see you there. Ryan needs all the help he can to make Justin feel like he's way behind enemy lines and give him that home ground advantage. So
I can see how that would work.
Yeah, and that's the model. And marketing comes down to just being yourself. Like I think the biggest mistakes that people make in marketing is they get this kind of image in their head of who they think they've got to be, and they try to be someone they're not. Like if you guys know what it's like. You just be yourself on camera. If you guys try to be hosts like bloody, I don't know, whoever's a famous host over there in the US, you guys wouldn't.
You should spend time with us off air, man.
Yeah.
They're totally different. No, I think this point you're making is really good, because I was at a tournament recently that was an amateur tournament. It was organized by amateurs, and I found out about it accidentally and called them up and said, hey, do you want to have a couple, representatives of Team USA? And I brought a table, I brought referees, because they didn't have any of that stuff. And it was basically 8 female brewers who were like basically having a competition with one another just for fun to raise money for a charity. There were 300 people there, who had never seen arm wrestling before. It was the best crowd I'd ever been in front of, and it was my favorite tournament of all time because they were in costumes and they were screaming, and like they all had entry songs and everything. And people were loving it, man. I mean, they were all in. It's so much different from when it's all arm wrestlers and everybody just kind of sits there and watches the matches. We get excited for a few seconds, and then we go back to sitting around like zombies or what have you. Yeah. So I think that it actually does tap into something real. Other people besides arm wrestlers love to watch this shit, and if we can get them involved, it'd be better for everybody.
Yeah, like I find it really interesting. Like you look at someone like Devin Larratt. Like Devin Larratt commands the biggest audience on social media among arm wrestlers. Like that, he can say anything and he'll get 500 likes because it's Devin Larratt, and rightly so. The man is the most influential arm wrestler on the planet. But even as that, because our sport, because we're all so spread out, arm wrestlers aren't going to fly to Ottawa to a local pub in Ottawa to watch him or to take on Frank or whoever. It's difficult for an arm wrestler as good as Devin to even get a promotion happening. But if we kind of flip the switch and say, all right, well, we all live in different areas, we can all play a part in legitimizing this sport. If we invest sort of 6 months of our time and energy into putting out regular content just to the town that we live in, you're going to get traction, and people will be entertained by the sport, as you say. And like the Pig and Whistle pub, they are so excited about this event. They're getting behind it massively. Like when Justin Bishop arrives here in Australia and gets to this town, he's going to be blown away at how much marketing there is. Like his face is going to be on billboards. Like the Bishop versus Bowen thing is on a billboard on the main street in our town. It's coming. Like there's going to be physical billboards in about 8 different locations that's going to have Justin's face on it, as well as the Pig and Whistle are talking about live streaming the match to every Pig and Whistle in Australia because they think it's so awesome. So, and this is all because they're seeing a local reaction that's excited by it, so that they believe in the product. And for them, like talking to the pub owners, like just to have a UFC match on their television, they're paying sort of $1,500 just to be able to have the broadcast rights. So to pay me $2,400 to have something as unique as what it is, for them, it's an easy investment, and it's a win regardless. So, yeah.
I like this whole train of thought because we have always been, as promoters and arm wrestlers, reliant on other people to do this kind of work, and we got lazy. Some of us. I'm speaking about me personally, not anybody else. Don't take it personally, fellows. But like ESPN and WAL and all that kind of stuff, they did such a they spent a lot of money and did it on a large scale. I guess on a more meta scale than what we do. But you're right, like that local kind of stuff. Like we did a tournament up here in Boston a couple of years back, and it was at a local pub, and it was huge, and it was awesome and fun. And I sort of was like, man, we should do that more often because they knew who I was. It was the same kind of thing. I mean, I'm not as famous in my neighborhood as you, although Hand Control Worldwide, John and I get stopped pretty much 5-6 times a day.
I can't leave my house.
So it is getting pretty aggravating, without a doubt. But we're not as famous as you, but we're working on it. But I love this idea, man. I really do. I think it's great, and I think it's awesome that you pick somebody like Justin to bring out there. First of all, I do agree with you that it's going to be a fun match, and Justin's a really good sport, and he's a fun guy to talk to. So he's gonna jump right in there, and it's going to be a lot of fun as a result.
Yeah, the trash talk series that I've been running has been awesome. So Justin sent me a whole bunch of videos that I've been editing it up, and those videos, like one more point about the marketing and all that sort of stuff is like it's really important that when self-promoters start a process like this, that you've got to realize that you're not marketing to arm wrestlers, that you're marketing to locals, because like amongst arm wrestlers, we're probably one of even though we're such a tight-knit community and we all get along so well, we're probably such critical judges of each other. Like if you try to sell something to an arm wrestler, you're going to get hammered by it. You're going to get told to get back in your box pretty quickly if you try to sell stuff to arm wrestlers. Because it's kind of like almost a betrayal of the brotherhood if you start trying to sell and make a profit on arm wrestlers. So we're not trying to make a profit on arm wrestlers. We're making a profit on our local audience. And as the way that we're doing that is being yourself amongst your local area. It's different. Like the arm wrestlers are going to see the advertising that I'm doing with Justin, all that trash talk. Yeah, they're going to see it. They're going to have a laugh at it. They're going to enjoy it, whatever they're going to take from it. But those ads are being pushed out to the 20,000 people who live in my local area. And I can get on all 20,000 people who are on Facebook who live in my local area for a $20 boost, literally a $20 boost. So I've got $500 to spend. And so every week I'm punching out $40 every week goes out. So everyone who lives in this local area is seeing at least 2 of those ads every week. And like I said, I'm getting people in my local shopping center literally walk up. I had a woman walk up and grab my arm a couple of days ago and say to me, "Oh, I thought your arms would have been bigger."
Welcome to every arm wrestler's world. Who's in a weight class?
That's like Roadhouse, man. That's like Roadhouse. You saw that movie with Patrick Swayze? Yeah. You must have seen that movie. It's the same. He gets that same line. I thought you'd be bigger. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like you just gotta, like, I've had a very interesting journey in social media over the last, I guess, 4.5 years that I've been in the sport. Like right from my outset, I started on the social media, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. And I started talking initially to arm wrestlers and all that sort of stuff. But I've now realized that it's not about talking to arm wrestlers. It's about talking to the non-arm wrestlers out there. And look, yeah, the arm wrestlers will like it. If they do, if they don't, that's fine. I'm not trying to teach people how to arm wrestle. I'm just kind of showing people what I do. And my biggest effort is trying to get traction amongst the non-arm wrestlers. So.
All right, hold on a sec. Everybody with the top row questions, sorry, Ryan can't help you tonight. Sorry, man. I'm breaking people's hearts over here, man.
Well, it's funny that you speak to, you're talking to people who aren't arm wrestlers, right? You're talking to the general public. And it's funny because, you're right, especially in the regard of, like, arm wrestlers we have this history built into our heads about what the sport is, what we know about the sport already, what we know about the arm wrestlers already. So, yeah, we're going to see videos of, Justin talking and you talking, and we're going to think, oh, yeah, I know that guy. So, you're going to make a positive, negative, or just okay, I just saw that, that's cool, assessment on it. But people who don't have any kind of history, or like you said, that's a sport. Like, why are these guys talking like they're fighters? Like, this is interesting, So it's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, the amount of people in my local area that have asked me about the sport, like even as a recruitment tool to the sport, this has been tremendous. I've had probably in the last month of doing this advertising, I've probably had 6 people I've never met before inquire about how they can get into arm wrestling. So, even as a recruitment tool, it's awesome. Yeah,
that is very awesome. So, about the top roll thing, because you have a bunch of people asking questions about it, which is probably not a surprise. We actually were talking about you a little bit on here last week, and John said he agreed with you, so I want to out him for that, so that he can get crap from certain people who think Ryan doesn't know anything about anything. You have your fan club, and you have an anti-fan club too, which those guys are fun too. Very much. But anyway, that Lohan top roll video that you put up.
Yeah,
I remember now.
Yeah,
I'm like, I had no idea what you were talking about.
It's like, wait a minute, what did I agree? I can't try. But so anyway, you're getting some top roll questions. Do you want to talk about that video you made and ideas about it a little bit?
Let's talk top roll for sure. What do you want to know?
Well, why don't you go into the Lohan top roll idea you have, and we can shoot that back and forth.
Okay, so for me, the Lohan top roll, look, I started out on the journey of arm wrestling with a big, ugly posting top roll. That's all I had. That's all I knew. No one was giving me guidance. And my first couple of years were pretty messy on my top roll ability. And it was only because I was taller than most of my opponents in the under 80 kilo class that the posting top roll was kind of paying off. But as I started to dive deeper into the understanding and searching for the biomechanical understanding of top rolling and arm wrestling in general, I remember one of the pivotal moments was, I don't know what forum this was on, whether it was a blog or video, whatever, but I saw John Brzenk comment somewhere where John was paying out posting top rollers. I think it was just in a thread somewhere. He was really, really bashing on posting top rollers. I think he was just pissed off at the time, to be honest. But he was saying that, like, there's a posting top roll, there's no control in it. You need your opponent to hold on to you if you're a posting top roller. And at the end of the day, whilst you're posting, there's always an insurance policy for your opponent. They can return with a posting top roll and slip. And he said, if you want to learn how to top roll properly, take a deep grip, get a really deep grip and learn to top roll from down there. And then you're going to have control. And so if you do that, you start experimenting with that, you take a deep, low grip and say, all right, well, I got a top roll from here. You can quickly recognize that using your bicep is not sufficient like a hook is just going to crush down on you if you're trying to bicep out of a deep grip. But from there, you can add your lats in, no dramas. You can add that down pressure through the pinky, and then all of a sudden, you've got both inside pressure and outside pressure available to you. And I love that grip, because from that grip, you can counter whatever it is your opponent wants to do. You can feel them. They're trying to come in on you. You just drop on your tricep a bit. If they're trying to go out on you, you can just crush down a bit. And that low hand top roll for me, this anchor point here is so critical. Like, if you twist off, then you're stuck in a bicep position. And biceps are weak at the end of the day compared to lats. So as long as you have sufficient hand control that you can anchor that pinky down and not have your hand open, you get to use your lats against people's biceps, and that's a good position to be in.
Yes, for sure.
Justin Bishop is watching, and he says exactly. So you just told him how to beat you. I guess. So
I actually
here's a picture of him taking notes. So
I actually, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the Justin Bishop match is because Justin has a reputation of having the strongest hand to arm ratio. Not saying his arm's weak, but everyone talks about everything that I see. Everyone's just said, "Oh man, Justin's hand. It's off the charts." And look, without blowing my own trumpet too much, I know that I'm a hand-based arm wrestler. My arm, the people that I'm balanced with in arm wrestling, they have arms that are a hell of a lot stronger than mine. My hand to arm ratio is really, really high. So I like 90% of my training is spent on hand. I very rarely do arm-based training. So it's going to be a fascinating match. It's going to be a war of hands, and yeah, it's going to be. I'll tell Justin, I guess he's watching, I'm glad I got 3/4 of an inch on him, because I get that biomechanical leverage. So it's going to be a battle of the hands, and that's why I can't wait to do it, because two arm wrestlers that have a very strong hand focus coming together should make for an interesting match.
Well, let me ask you what you think about this, because Chris Gobby has given both of us our fair amount of crap over the years, but he does make a point here that, Justin's like an elite level puller, and do you feel like you have what it takes to give him a good match?
Look, I think I'm going to beat Justin. I honestly do. Like, I'm not being hopeful. I feel like I'm ready to go. Me at this weight, like, I guess to justify that for Chris, there's a few angles that I can take. The first angle I'll take is my match with Pepe Penzetti about a month ago. Pepe Penzetti has finished 2nd, 4th, and 5th at WAF World Championships in 3 consecutive years in the 90-kilo category. And I beat him. I took his hand away from him. He is someone who flash pinned Danny Tesh at the last World Championships. And I disengaged his hand off the go at the comp and had no dramas. On the after pulling table with him as well, comfortable. In a strap, he couldn't pin me. So that's one. And I know he's verified elite world level. And the other is the fact that I trained with Danny Tesh. Like, watching what Danny did at Vegas against Paul, against Katowski, against Frode Haugland, against Paul Maiden, all those people that Danny Tesh had an absolute war with, established, at least in Danny anyway, that he is that world elite level. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that Danny Tesh and Justin Bishop are pretty similar. And I train with Danny every week, have been training with Danny every week for 3 years. And I can tell you right now that Danny and I are balanced, absolutely balanced. Danny's got a 5-to-1 win ratio over me. That was with me always being under 80 kilos. I'm 95 kilos today. I trained with Danny last night, and I can tell you I can hook with Danny all day long. So there we go.
Do you think this 95 kilos is a permanent thing for you? Or just for this match?
Yes. I feel so good at this weight. Honestly, it's funny because the reason I was staying down at 80 kilos for so long was because I had this assumption in my head that was where I was going to be best on an international level. I thought I had to be dehydrating because I saw everyone dehydrating and thinking that that's where I was going to be most competitive. I was certainly going to be really tall in that category. Like, I'm 6'2", just about. My arm was longer than everyone, so my game of the top roll was really handy. But look, when I lost to Jordan, my training partner, Jordan Davis, down in Arnold's, he's probably the only person that in that category that was taller than me. And he took away my hand, and the way the draw went, it meant he was the only person I lost to on the day, and it meant that I got eliminated by probably the only guy in the club that knew how to potentially out top roll me, and when I lost that, like, it gutted me. I was literally in tears on the day after that, just thinking I've missed out on the WAL and all that sort of stuff, what I've been aiming for. And I made the decision after that moment that, look, I'm just going to embrace being as strong as I can. I looked domestically in Australia. I said my goal in Australia, I just want to get to the top of the overalls category. And I knew that to do that, I was going to have to embrace getting heavier. And so I just started eating, and literally in the space of 2 months, I've gone from being able to, I competed in March at 165 pounds, and today I'm 207 pounds. So massive difference. But the way that I felt against Pepe Penzetti, the way that I feel against Danny Tesh at this weight, the way that I can now grip the Australian heavyweights, that, like, it's just verifying for me in my own head that, yeah, this weight's good. This weight's really, really good. So I love it.
When you and Danny pull, do you guys ever do ready goes?
No, in our club we really don't, to be honest. We save that for the comp. We get a lot of table time, and we spend probably 95% of our time in the strap as well. But no ready goes. We just like to keep each other healthy and uninjured. But I mean, Danny's pretty much a defensive arm wrestler. He's known as the handbrake in our club. He puts stops on, and once he puts a stop on, it's a very difficult task to get a finish on him. So the one victory that I have over Danny, which was actually this time last year at our state titles, we both pulled in the heavyweights, and I eliminated him in the semi-final. Was a pin where I just got a fast pin on him, and just like he gets, my matches with Danny look very much like Katowski's match with Danny. Like, that is the typical match that I have with Danny. I take his hand, I get outside his wrist, and he gets to that dead wrist defensive position, and he just grinds me out. Like, if you want to see the most typical match, like, there's a match of mine that looks almost identical to the Katowski match, not quite as long. If you look up last year's South Australian Arm Wrestling Championship in the final of the heavyweights, Danny against myself looks identical to the Katowski match. Yeah. But the Brisbane, sorry,
no, you can go ahead.
the Brisbane Heavy Hitter Club that I train with, honestly, I'm so glad that Danny went over there and did what he did, because he's kind of verified in our minds, shown us where we are on the world level. But I can tell you that there's two guys in our club that Danny can't touch, and they're only 10 kilos heavier than Danny. Lachlan Adair he's got a 310 kilo deadlift with no straps. To give you an idea of how strong his hands are. He's someone who Danny can't touch. Doug Fatafi is someone who Danny has never beaten, and again, only 10 kilos heavier than Danny. And then you've got Jordan Davis. Like, it's funny, like, when I look at Jordan Davis, how he went over at WOW, he certainly did nowhere near as good as I know he was expecting or hoping, or I was expecting.
Sure.
Like Jordan is someone who has wars with Danny in Australian competitions as well. So, like, Danny can't keep his wrist against Jordan in a comp. Danny's not quick off the go. And then we've got Grant Tolentino, another guy who has many pins on Danny. Comp pins. Like, Danny is not the current national champion. Grant Tolentino is. So, and that's all in one club. We got 5-6 guys in this one club that we train with that have all got pins on Danny. So Danny's kind of shown the world where we're at, and it's verified for our club that we're legitimate, and we're excited about it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, if you can kind of play matchmaker, it definitely doesn't hurt your confidence if you can kind of compare. I mean, kind of like the same thing where, when you're talking about this promotion stuff, you don't know until you do it. So, if you're going to sit at home and think like, well, I don't think I can beat that guy, I guess I just won't try. Like, it doesn't really make any sense to do that. So it's like, you got to at least get in there and give it a shot. But going back to the promotions a little bit, you're promoting basically a one-on-one 6-round match, correct?
Yeah.
Do you think it would be any different, or would there be any different challenges if you were trying to promote a tournament rather than a one-on-one match?
Yeah, I think a tournament's going to be it's going to be different. I mean, obviously, instead of paying one person, like Justin and I have agreed to we're going to split the profits on what we make. So no one's going to take any home more than the other. But for a tournament, you could put it on as prize money, and I think it comes down to the pub, and I think after I've established this initial event, that it's going to be easier and easier for me to do a tournament. But I think that having the draw card of what sounds like two big names in the sport is certainly advantageous for getting local attention. I think in a sport, would the local area respond as well if it was just, say, the Queensland State Championships? Probably not as much as what seems like a sort of main event style America versus Australia event. So I do think that there's an advantage in having that single super match format, but I think it'd still work. It'd still work for a tournament, and that same process. It all comes down to investing time and energy into getting local attention amongst non-arm wrestlers, and we've talked about how we can do that, and then just leveraging that. Like, the thing about marketing is you've got I watch Gary Vaynerchuk's stuff, and he talks about jab, 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 hook. And in your marketing, you've just got to give people content that they genuinely enjoy, with no agenda. If people sense an agenda in a sale, they're like, it's bullshit.
Oh,
You're not
sure.
really, you don't really want to help me out. So give people genuine content. Like you guys give us genuine content. You're not asking for anything. But you guys could turn around and say, hey guys, the Hand Control's hosting a tournament. We need your support. If you like the Hand Control, what we do, this is the best thing you could do to help us out is to get behind this tournament. And people would go out of their way above and beyond what they would normally do because they appreciate the free content that you guys have been producing. So it's all about investing time and energy into providing genuine, engaging, free content that your local area likes. And for me, I've got that with reviewing local businesses and talking about arm wrestling on a casual sense. And then when it comes time for that right hook, saying, hey guys, I need you all to turn up October 29 at Pig and Whistle. It's not going to cost you anything. Come and watch what professional arm wrestling looks like. And then it comes together nicely.
I think there's real value in that, man. I just, as I already mentioned, I think other people have had experiences like that too. If we reach out to the average people in the community, then you really are building an audience. And most sports started locally. They didn't start on a national level. And as you know, very few people who watch sports actually participate them in any kind of serious fashion. So for us to build our sport, we have to follow a model like you're suggesting.
And, it's such an obvious model in terms of just the ROI on the investment side itself. Like, if you look at what WAL tried to do, and they're doing it on a big scale using a platform like ESPN, it's clearly not cheap to get on ESPN. It's clearly not. Like, to get on ESPN, you're competing with all of the other Fortune 500 companies that have got billions of dollars in marketing revenue, and you're trying to muscle your way into that space. And the ROI is ridiculously hard to achieve. Where on a local level, like, there's no businesses in my area that are utilizing Facebook advertising like I am. It costs me on average between 1 and 3 cents per video view. Like, that is absurdly cheap. Like, for $20, my entire suburb sees my ad for $20,
right?
Which is nothing. Like, and we're in a golden time right now. Honestly, when those Fortune 500 companies start to realize that the world's attention is on mobiles, we're not on TV anymore. We're not on print media and all that sort of stuff. They're going to start slowly but surely bringing their advertising money down to the platforms that we're on. And those 1 to 3 cent videos, in 5 years' time, they might be dollar videos that we're getting. So right now, there's an awesome opportunity in the marketing space on social media for us to leverage incredibly cheap advertising. And if you're a promoter, it's like just go and talk to a venue, go and just float the idea. It doesn't cost anything to go and have a chat with a venue manager. If they say yes, conditionally yes, even if the first event you don't draw a profit, like I'm going to draw a profit, but even if the first event you're just aiming for a break even, you might only get $500 from the venue to say, hey, I'm going to bring you this entertaining. Spend all of that $500 on local marketing just to the town that pub's in. And it's all about delivering on value, because when that pub sees $500, like, don't even tell them what you're going to do with the $500 necessarily. Just do it without asking permission. And they're going to see all these ads floating around promoting their venue and their event. And they're going to, like, it's all about over delivering on value. They're going to then feel indebted to you on a generosity level. And they're going to be like, yeah, man, let's do that again for sure.
There's a couple of people asking, you sort of just answered it, and I could answer this question for you, but I'm not going to because you're our guest and we like you and we want to give you a chance to talk more because you're good at it. So this guy, Gene K, is basically saying, how does this benefit you when it doesn't get more pullers or people of beneficial asset? I just lost the question here. To come to your tournament. So he's basically, he's looking at it from a position of actual participants. And how does this make it bigger? Is this going to help you pull in more arm wrestlers? Now, before you answer, I would say simply, if you have two people like you have, it's going to be you and Justin. That's it. No tournament. So there's a grand total of 2 actual arm wrestlers plus your friends and family are going to show up. But you fill the place up with 400 people that are all buying beers and meals, then the restaurant's going to feel like they just won the lottery.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say, look, on a very real piece of evidence, like using this exact tournament, I've already got undercard matches lining up. Justin, if you didn't know, Justin's going to be taking on Danny Tesh on the left arm. That's another match that's going to be happening. It's going to be a cracker of a match, no doubt. Then we've got Lachlan Adair is taking on Brett Coots. Lachlan Adair is the guy that I told you that Danny can't beat. He's taking on Brett Coots from Victoria, who's long time established, finished 6th in the Worlds a couple of years ago at in Bulgaria or whatever it was. No, not Bulgaria, wherever he was. So 2 legitimate heavyweights going at it. We've got guys coming over from Western Australia. We've got guys coming up from South Australia. We've got guys coming up from Tasmania. Already I've got about 7 undercard matches that are incredibly entertaining, and people are really flocking to it. Like, we're still a long way out. I can guarantee you that I'm going to be turning away undercard matches by the end of this comp because people are popular. And look, Justin, the fact that Justin himself is going to be here is a big draw card for us Aussies. I mean, we so rarely get to meet international arm wrestlers. So I've asked Justin, and this is another way where we're going to be actually turning a profit for the event. Maybe harder to do over there in the US with domestic arm wrestlers, but I've asked Justin to put on a seminar afterwards where I've said, man, can you just tell your story? Tell us how you got into the sport, your journey from being a nobody in the sport to being the level you are now, the training methods that you've gone through, like just kind of spill the beans on who Justin Bishop is. And Aussie arm wrestlers are very fascinated by that. They're keen to do that. So literally Australian arm wrestlers that attend that are going to be paying $100 for that ticket to listen to Justin talk. And in that $100, they're going to get fed by the pub on a big 5-star meal. The pub's putting on, they're going to be smoking an entire pig just for us. So it's going to be awesome. So that is another way that so the promotion is kind of twofold. We've got like we talked about before, to the non-arm wrestling community, we're promoting the match. To the arm wrestling community, we're promoting the seminar. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really super creative, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like I mean, that model was done by the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation with John Brzenk initially was the first one that came out, then Devin Larratt a couple of years in a row, and Matt Mask, everyone loved going to those seminars. So it just made sense that, if Justin's going to be here, that we bring a whole bunch of arm wrestlers together and hear his story and trash his arm after the super match.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're gang up on him.
It's a fantastic idea, man. I mean, I think, people are saying a lot of stuff on here about that you're really an excellent promoter and that it's clearly something you really enjoy doing, and that's obviously lent to your success. But I think in general, just my experience with you guys over at WAF and, talking to the few of you that we have on this show and also watching you guys have a lot of pride, both in your country and your fellow sportsmen, and I think it comes across very strongly. Yeah. And it does get people excited about going to Australia. Like we always talk about it around here. Everybody wants to go to Australia. It's one of those places that we want to go to. And you guys certainly
do it.
Yeah, I know. It's just it seems like it'll be fun to hang out with you guys. And it certainly was fun hanging out with you guys at WAF. And I think it's a great thing that you're doing. And I do think that if people are paying attention, it's something that they can model. And, I mean, we have people still running tournaments up here that get, 20, 30 entrants. And we certainly can do better than that.
Yeah, like you see the numbers that Devin Larratt's pulling in the junior tournaments at the moment. That's unreal.
Yeah, that's
144 was it, or was it even bigger than that? Whatever it was, he's enormous in terms of what he's pulling. So I think there's interest out there. Like the evidence that kids will enter it is evidence that we can get the non-arm wrestling community will get involved as well. So I think the sport's. I don't think we're necessarily at a bad time in the sport with WAL kind of folding and all that sort of stuff. It's just it's given us an opportunity to leverage the opportunities in social media and marketing and that. And look, I want to say straight away that I'm no marketing expert. I've never done this before. I've never promoted an event like this. I'm not claiming to be the expert on marketing. I just want to make this a case study for everyone. I just wanted to open the book to say, hey guys, this is what I'm going to try to do. If it works, use it and run with it, because
it has worked. So
that's
you have demonstrable evidence that it did in fact work. Getting $2,400 is a huge success in my book.
Yeah, big time.
And where the profits are going to be split with Justin. So the $2,400 covers his flights and the marketing to the local area. All the ticket sales for the seminar, that's where the profit that I'm going to be handing to Justin at the end of the day is going to come from. So I've sold 8 tickets so far. So Justin's got himself $400 at the moment.
That's awesome.
And look, by October 29, who knows? I might be handing $2,000 to Justin.
So that'd be amazing, dude. That's a fantastic idea too. All right, I've been ignoring some of these questions here. Let's see. We've got some arm wrestling ones here. Tomas would like to hear your take on the difference between a high hook and a low hand top roll.
Yeah, okay. So for me, a high hook is just all about using that bottom edge of your hand. So rotation, to me, rotation is rotation, whether it's employed as a top roll and i.e. using the top of your hand as the offensive point of contact versus using the bottom edge of your hand as the offensive point of contact. But to me, like Justin is someone that I might high hook. Depending on what Justin did in the setup, like if I've got a longer arm than somebody and I sense them potentially trying to bluff and trying to potentially come in and if I'm thinking they're going to dive into a hook, me with the longer arm, I've got an opportunity to jump over what I call the pivot. So the pivot for me is if you draw a line down the center of your forearm, the pivot or the rotation, if you can get further over the pivot than your opponent can get over your pivot, then you're going to have more down pressure at the end of the day, and you can engage more lat pressure without losing your rotation.
Because you'll be wrapped around further.
Yeah, so for me, a high hook is all about sensing that my opponent wants to dive in on me and saying, all right, well, I'm going to be slightly taller than you, and I'm going to jump further over your pivot before this back pressure war starts. So to me, I can certainly high hook from a low hand position. If I sense my opponent's coming in, I can say, if they've gone too far down my arm, I might, instead of trying to top roll, I might just go, screw it, I'm high hooking. Yeah.
Interesting. Sometimes I think that it reminds me of judo. You know, there's 10,000 throws, and a lot of them are like a quarter inch to half inch difference from the one prior, and they all get names. But it's sometimes, your adjustments are so quick. The position that you start in has nothing to do with what you're doing 5 seconds later. But we tend to name and label everything anyway. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, my mindset on how I train and how I try to get to an arm wrestling match has been shaped so much by what I heard Devin say when he came out here. And when Devin talked about every angle of the hand and fingers can be used as a weapon, I really believe that and listen to that. And so the way that I discovered that, like I think your brain is better than your conscious thought can actually be. Like what I mean by that is the way that I train is often at about between 60 and 80% of my maximum effort. I take away pinning. Like what I do is I literally put a couple of songs on when I'm gripped up with someone, and I just say, let's just keep. The rule is we've got to keep pressure on no matter what for this whole song, and let lactic acid build up. Sure. We just get a deep cup. I turn the back pressure on, and we just sit there. And as lactic acid builds up in whatever angle you're on, you start to have to find positions, adjustments, micro adjustments to rest and to get off that lactic acid. And honestly, as your opponent's doing the same thing, like remember, no one's trying to pin you. We're playing a game of who can make the opponent's lactic acid build up the fastest. And in that, you start to find micro adjustments, like millions of micro adjustments that you can do that become automatic weapons for you on the table. And there's so many. Like I said, it's a big fluid thing. It's certainly not top roll, hook and press. We all start out thinking. If somebody asks me these days what style of arm wrestler are you, I just say, I just counter whatever my opponent wants to do.
That's a smart answer. Do you listen to songs like American Pie when you do that? Because it's like 20 minutes long, man. That's a 20-minute song.
Yeah.
That's why you listen to like an electronic song that's 2.5 minutes, or you listen to just like classical fourth movement.
If you want good endurance, you know.
Yeah,
I have to know.
Whenever I get a new guy come around here, I do that. I like to set him up. I put on cashmere or something.
Yeah.
And it goes for a long time, so it's good fun. But have a go at it. Take away the need to pin and just sit there at about 70-80% effort and see who you go through different levels of lactic acid. Like initially you sit there going, oh yeah, this hurts, and then you start laughing, going, holy shit, this really hurts now. And then you get past the laughing phase and you go into the dead set silence, like, no, don't talk to me. I need to deal with this lactic acid.
I actually think if I were only going to do one type of arm wrestling training for the rest of my life, if I had to pick one, that's what I would do, because I think there's incredible value to it. It's not only the endurance, but you're probably aware of this, obviously, because you're doing it. You change your position a little bit, a whole bunch of times to find some little tiny muscle that's not quite as drained as the rest of them. So you end up getting an amazing workout, and you're practicing in all kinds of different angles and putting stress on muscles that don't usually get it when you arm wrestle in a normal fashion. So I think it's incredible.
And that's it. And that's why I don't know if you guys saw the video I put out about Devin versus Frank, and why Frank has no chance. It's because of that awareness. Like, sure, Frank might be strong on cupping and pronation and whatever, but he's not aware of those micro adjustments that Devin clearly is. And
access to power has been quoted on this thread like about 100 times already. It's like a running joke. Oh, Ryan's on access to power. But it's true. It is true.
That is like the reason I focus on access to power. Like again, it goes back to my very beginning in the sport. When I decided I want to become an elite arm wrestler, and I made that decision day one in the sport, even when I was 68 kilos and weak. I said, I want to be an elite arm wrestler. I said to myself, I'm going to assume that the reason the guys that are at the top is not because they're the strongest, but because they're the most proficient arm wrestlers and they understand arm wrestling better than anyone else. So I eliminated strength as a requirement and just said, all right, well, how the hell is Devin doing what he's doing? How's John doing what he's doing? What are they doing technically to trump their opponents? And I just stay very heavily focused on that, and I just trust that I'm going to get strong in those little micro movements. And still to this day, one of the most common things that I've had said to me amongst arm wrestlers that meet me for the first time is they say, how the hell do you get that much strength out of arms that small? So I know that I'm not big, I'm not strong like a lot of people are, but I can still hang with guys that are clearly a lot stronger than me. So.
No, sure. I mean, I've made the comment on here as a joke, like, I wish I had muscles, right? I mean, these things, they're jokes, but they're really not jokes, right? I mean, in terms of a strength athlete, you'd think that everybody, like, like that woman that grabbed your arm in the grocery store, I thought you'd be bigger, and it really comes down to not just power, but really you're talking about efficiency, and it's really like an internal efficiency, because like I remember seeing this segment, I don't remember where I saw it, but they hooked up a bunch of sensors and stuff to Randy Couture, and they told him to choke a dummy. Just choke it for as long as you can. Right? So he chokes this thing for like minutes at a time and really doesn't get all that tired. And they went back and they looked at what his body was doing, and there was a lot of muscles that would contract, and then they would slowly, then they would slowly let go, and other muscles would contract. And he's not meaning to do this. This is a guy who's trained his body and his mind to do this without him thinking about it. He just does it. So when you're sitting there in that hook for minutes at a time, listening to the, pop music or whatever, and all of a sudden you're using, like, suddenly your side pressure goes from your shoulder to your tricep a little bit, and like these little movements that just bring you, basically, you're just trying to bring yourself relief in the moment, right? But someday you're going to use that in a tournament, and it's not going to be a 3-minute match. It's going to be a 1-minute match, and you're going to get through that match, and you're going to walk away going, I can keep going now, and whereas everybody else will be dead. Absolutely,
and I think, like, I'm a huge believer of that efficiency as well, that neural sort of efficiency, that understanding. And that's why I'm even a big believer in just thinking about the repetitions and the movements and the huge value there. Like I know I read a case study once where they were talking about hip abduction, and literally they took 4 groups. They measured all of them, their best efforts on hip abduction. And these were all untrained people. They weren't athletes. They weren't powerlifters or anything like that. And the first group, they said, all right, we want you to go away for 6 weeks and do nothing. And then come back after 6 weeks, they measured it again. They had a 6% increase in their hip abduction. They put it down to just human nature, competitiveness. They wanted to do better than they did last time. Second group, they said, we want you to go away and do 3 sets of 10 of hip abduction every day for 6 weeks. That group came back and they had a 26% increase in their hip abduction capability. The third group, they said, we just want you to imagine doing hip abduction 3 sets of 10 for 6 weeks. That group came back with a 22% increase in their hip abduction. Didn't do squat, didn't do anything. Just imagine doing hip abduction 3 sets of 10 every day for 6 weeks. And they came back with a 22%. And the fourth group, they said, we want you to physically do the 3 sets of 10, plus we want you to imagine doing 3 sets of 10 in addition. They came back and had a 35% increase in their hip abduction. So it shows you that understanding getting the neural pathways smooth and getting your brain to actually understand truly what it is you're asking it to do translates to strength big time.
Yeah, and I think that translates very well, that mindset, to newer people and experienced people at trainings every week, right? Yeah. And not just getting in there and just trying hard. Slow down and think about what you're doing. Tell your training partner, I'm going to do this and I want you to do that. And we're going to work this as a drill. Like, there's very few people and very few teams that run drills in arm wrestling training. It's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. I'm mostly an offensive arm wrestler. There's a few defensive arm wrestlers in my club, and I think the defensive arm wrestlers do it better than offensive arm wrestlers. But I'll take Jordan Davis as an example. I hear him say to newcomers all the time, just learn to lose. Just learn to lose slower. Don't worry about trying to pin people. Let everybody in the club beat you, and all I want you to do is try to just hold them and just get better at holding it. Just take away the ego, and just in the process of learning to be on the defensive half, you'll learn micro movements that you wouldn't have had time to if you were just trying to go all out and pin. But for me, if you came along to a Brisbane Heavy Hitters arm wrestling training session, there's very little pinning going on. We have people watch us and sit there training and think, what the hell are you guys doing? Are you doing anything? Like, they're waiting for someone to go, but we're sitting there just feeling the hand control.
Yeah, trying to get stronger and trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
Very important things.
Don't get injured yet.
As we've said numerous times in this show, Ryan, that's kind of why we started doing this show in the first place, because there isn't a set standard of, if you watch runners, if you watch whatever basketball people, there's camps and there's coaches that have prescribed approaches that people have been following for decades that have been proven to work. We don't have that in our sport. And we do talk a lot about, individuals are different, but that applies to every sport too. There are some consistencies, no matter what sport it is, in the way that, professional coaches treat their athletes. Yeah. And we don't really have that. So it's this whole line of thought is really interesting to me.
I still think the sport on a global scale is still very, very young. And although we've been around for, at least 3 or 4 decades in some capacity, I still think the sport has a small number of people that I would actually put in the category of having mastered the sport. I think a lot of the guys that have been at the top on an international level have been there because they're super strong. And they're good arm wrestlers, but they're not masters. They're not Devin Larratt style, just live and breathe the movements. I only think there's a handful of people on the planet that have ticked that box. And I think the longer the sport hangs around and the bigger the sport gets, we're going to start to see mastery and strength as requirements to be elite. You can't just be super strong and be a good arm wrestler.
Sure.
You're going to have to be super strong, and you're going to have to be a Devin Larratt technician as well if you want to make it. So, and more people are sharing information on how we arm wrestle. I mean, social media, everyone's sharing secrets now. And I've never been in a sport that is so open. So everyone shares how they train. And because of that reason, I think we're going to progress a lot in the sport over the next decade. Yeah.
I agree, and I think that there were some initial trepidation on the part of some people to share stuff because people worry about giving away their secrets. But the reality is, number one, there are no secrets, as we said numerous times. And even if there was, and you told everybody the secret, they'd still have to train it as hard as you, if not harder, to catch up to you. And most people are going to do that. I mean, it's a hobby for the vast majority of people that do the sport. It's still a hobby, and for the maybe 1,000 of us in this country, and however many you guys have in Australia, say 100 people that are super serious about it, That's a very small number, so sharing information is not going to hurt.
And it's the best way to reinforce your own knowledge as well. Is like, I remember my first 12 months, I used to be so ridiculously excited about teaching somebody the basics. I'll be honest, I'm over teaching people the basics now. But the good thing is, the good thing is, there's other guys in the club. It's a pyramid. There's guys that are one level up that still enjoy and love teaching the basics. And if you just teach the person below you what you've just learned in your last 6 months, then you keep progressing together. And that's the way.
Yeah, well, that's the way. That's a model that's proven to work. You learn by doing, literally. So if you're teaching people, you're going to get better at the aspects that you're teaching. And you master them, you move on, you teach people other stuff, and that's definitely how you continue to progress. And it's probably one of the many reasons Brzenk is so incredible is that he's known for working with people on the table and being very open and showing stuff. So it's something he's constantly doing, and I'm sure he's picking stuff up, as long as he was doing it. And that's it's a good role model for us in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see, questions. We're getting a lot of the same questions that everybody asks every arm wrestler, which is not a surprise. But let's see. There's some interesting ones here. What do you do for strong wrists? What do you do for training, cupping, and rotation? You sort of have told us a lot of the stuff you do on the table. But do you have a weightlifting routine that you follow?
Yeah, I do. Interestingly, I'm just measuring my wrist right now. I saw that Denis Saplenkov has 10-inch wrists. Mine are 9. So I've got. Anyway, you'll have to believe me. 9 inches. 9 inches on my wrist. Where I had a 7-inch wrist when I started arm wrestling. So
why would we ever doubt a guy talking about 9 inches? Because that never happens.
Oh,
somebody had to say it, man.
It's true.
I had to comment before someone's typing it right now. And they're like, "Shit, like, Josh, beat me to it."
Delete.
Yeah. So, but arm wrestling has transformed the anatomy of my forearm massively. It's funny, when I started in the sport, I remember having conversations with my dad and just saying that my bone structure was never going to be big enough to be competing at the heavy weights. And that was one of the reasons why I always thought, no, look, I'm going to stay in the under 80s. But the sport has proven that wrong. My wrist, people now meet me that are new to the sport and say, oh, yeah, but look, you're that good at the sport because look how thick your wrists are. They're massive. And now people assume that I have got this genetic wrist that is enormous, but it hasn't been the case. I mean, my strength training routine outside of table time very much consists of hand-based movements. Like for me, I've always, again, it all links back to what I was saying before about being able to counter my opponent. The way that I can counter my opponent is through hands, so I need to make my hands stronger. So for me, cupping is like... Cupping in that sense there, not necessarily the wrist, but the ability to contain with the tabletop of my fingers, that being able to turn this back pressure on in my static setup makes my top roll so comfortable. Like if I can make someone respond to my fingers and start posting, then their hand's going to go. So for me, fingers like that is a big, big priority. I spend a lot of time with flat plates, curling flat plates, 10 kilo plate, 15 kilo plate, whatever it might be. From there, I then obviously this joint is the next thing that I put as the next biggest priority, and I do that any number of ways. My favorite one at the moment is to take the PVC pipe. I put my hand through, strap my hand to a PVC pipe with a slight cup already in it. I then slide the PVC pipe over the end of an Olympic bar and with the Olympic bar between my legs, cupping from there. After the establishment of the cup, for me, rotation is the next most important thing. And the way that I train my rotation at the moment, I mean, and I do slight variations on it all the time, I'm literally just wrapping a cord around my wrist and letting a free weight hang below and just rotating. I mean, cupping, rotation, chopping, and rising. I spend 90% of my gym time on those movements. And
those are the secrets. Yeah. We said there were no secrets, but we just gave you 4.
Yeah, people ask me how often I do like static holds and stuff. Like I can static hold a decent amount. I couldn't tell you accurately what I can. Like I could table curl. I could table curl about 60 kilos off the table, I guess. But I use static holds as kind of a measurement. Every sort of 3 months, I like to just pick it up and just see if I've progressed. But I spend all my effort training the hand, and the arm naturally progresses along as a result of it. But for me, because it's all about the chain of movements, and there's no point in having an arm that my hand can't handle.
No, sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the basic idea.
I like those ideas. I actually gave up on table curling because a few people, Herman Stevens was talking to me about it one day, and something he said really clicked, and that was the amount of driving that it does with your elbow into the table.
Yeah,
to me, it felt like it was I was learning a move that I was not going to use in the table because I like to have a floating elbow for the most part.
Yeah, Jordan Davis ruptured a bursa in the elbow.
Yeah. Really?
Doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, had to get bloody injections and everything to fix that up. So
tough, that's tough. So I switched to preacher curls because I think it's similar enough that you still can gain sort of that same type of power, and it's also easy to do with statics in that position, but doesn't have the trauma on the elbows. But it's one of those things we can't help doing anyway because he was sitting around and at the end of practice, everybody's, let's see who can table curl the most, and then if Norm Devio is there, he wins, but if he's not, then somebody else can win sometimes.
Yeah.
So let's see.
Have you guys pulled Crazy George, John? Either of you?
I've never gotten a chance. I want to.
I'm telling you, I spent the last 2 weeks trying to set up a super match between him and Philippe, and he was just like, I'm kind of old. I don't think I'm that strong anymore. And I'm like, dude, come on. He's like, I'm doing one tournament. I'll go to Arnold's. If you want to pull me, go to Arnold's. That's basically what he said.
My opponents are watching, so I'm going to tell them anyway. But I've got my state titles coming up in a week and a half's time, and I'm entering the heavyweights. There's two guys there that are just out and out too strong for me, Lachlan Adair and Doug Fatafi. They're two big heavyweights, and a King's move is the only hope I have on those guys. So I've been studying Crazy George's initial movements, trying to get that in my head, ready for it, but.
You do need the architecture. You need the arm architecture for that. I mean, there's absolutely a lot of technique to it and a lot of power that's unique to that position, but there also is the fact that they can't straighten their arm that makes it even possible. For most of us, it's like it's a hard technique to do. Yeah,
I watched him. I saw some videos of Jordan Davis training with him. Jordan, on his trip up to Canada, got some table time with him, and it was fascinating. Like. From way underneath Jordan's hand. Jordan's in this position. He could pop Jordan's wrist back, and I'm like, how on earth from underneath there? Like I know I'm so far away from being able to pop Jordan's wrist back from that position. Yeah. It's absurd, and you think, oh my goodness, how do you do that? But
that's for everybody who says he's not strong.
But talking to Jordan on his experience with Crazy. Crazy George had a lot of good things to say about Jordan. I think he said that Jordan was one of the hardest people to pin that he's ever experienced, and simply because Jordan wasn't trying to pin Crazy George. He was, and every time Crazy George tried to pin him, Jordan would float to the top right corner, point his forearm where George is trying to go, and because Jordan's arm is like a bloody giraffe, it was hard for Crazy George to pin him. So. I think Crazy George is a tremendously fascinating arm wrestler, and
I agree.
Someone that I'm still working on trying to decode.
Yeah, it's one of those, the defense of the King's move. There's plenty of documentation on how to do it, right? Like if you watch enough videos and you really commit to the way, what do you have to do to combat that move? I know exactly how to do it. Now it's just, are you strong enough to? And do you have the patience? Are you make sure you don't panic in the moment? All these things, because
hell of a lot of patience required.
It ain't gonna be quick.
the panic sets in, doesn't it? And what I love about the King's move is that you pin someone. I kind of describe it like death by 1,000 ants just eating you slowly. Like they never really force the issue. They just kind of fill the gap, and as you back off and look for a rest somewhere, they just keep filling the gap, and it's this realization that you're running out of air.
Yeah, there's no that boa constrictor is really starting to tighten up here.
Yeah, it's awesome, but yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get you over to
wrestling,
Arnold's. I know you guys have your own Arnold's over there, but maybe we can talk a couple of you guys into coming out to the one. Is it in Ohio again this year? I didn't even
Columbus,
look.
Ohio, every year.
Columbus, Ohio. So there you go.
I have no doubt that you would have many volunteers ready to come over there for an Arnold's. It would be awesome, and yeah, I know I would be there in a flash. It's hopefully all this self promotion stuff works and we get the model up, because
yeah, man,
flights aren't cheap from Australia. It's bloody annoying that we live so far away, but yeah,
Columbus, Ohio is a mecca too, so you will never run out of things to do in Columbus, Ohio. I'm being sarcastic. So
well, they do a pretty good job there during that weekend though.
Oh,
I've been there a couple times.
Yeah.
The city does turn up pretty good. So.
All right, I think we got most of these questions in here. Jordan Davis is just saying he's going to be there sometime soon. That'll be good to see, Jordan. Yeah, I like you guys traveling, and we're going to travel down to see you. John and I will come down and do a seminar on how to run a podcast for free to the entire world and not make any money.
Yeah, as long as that last part, as long as you disclose the last part, yeah.
We're super good.
You guys keep doing what you're doing, and honestly, the opportunities will come without you guys even being able to predict them. So you just keep pumping out the good content, and someone somewhere will say, "Hey, you guys are good. Can I pay you guys to promote my product?"
I'll tell you what, I could get hit by lightning later tonight. Things do happen.
Well, it's a way to be positive, Josh.
Hey, a little electricity is good for you.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Ryan, it was a great pleasure having you on, man. You're always fun to talk to. So we're going to do it again sometime soon. And hopefully next time maybe we'll broadcast from Australia and you can sit next to us.
Yeah, that'd be good. Oh, yeah. And yeah, keep watching the space for more of the Bishop and Bowen promotions. I'm gonna the end state goal. I have to let you guys in. And now this one, I don't know whether it's going to come off or not, but I'm hoping to get Justin and I live on Australian national TV the week before the match. We're going to be. I'm talking with Channel 9 already. We're going to be live on their bit of trash talk, and then hopefully make it a massive event.
Nice.
Very, very cool. All right, dude. It's good talking to you. Say hi to everybody, and we'll talk soon.
Yep. Good luck on your training, man.
See you guys.
Yeah.